Welcome to Meet the Experts, the show that introduces you to today's best and brightest thought leaders sharing information to accelerate your success in business and life. Let's get today's show started.
Welcome to Meet the Experts, the show that introduces you to the thought leaders that can impact your business, your brand, and your bank account. I'm Cory Mosley, your host for today's show. Today's guest is Damon Lester, author, executive leader, keynote speaker, and founder of Taking the Cape Off, a leadership identity and personal development brand helping high achievers, executives, and leaders release the invisible weight they've been carrying for far too long. After 25 years as a high-performing executive, including serving as a dealer principal and president of a national organization, Damon has turned his personal journey into a powerful message about boundaries, burnout, and redefining success. Damon, welcome to Meet the Experts.
Oh, thank you for having me. That's an awesome introduction. Thank you.
Yeah, listen, it's all you, right? So now, I want to start immediately. A phenomenal book. I mean, congratulations on the success of it also. But I want to start immediately with the title because it, of course, immediately grabs attention. Taking the cape off, right? What does that actually mean? And who is this message really for?
You know what the message is for? It's for leaders, whether you're a leader at home, you're a leader at work, you're a leader within your family. It's about the cape that we all wear and the responsibility that we have to be everything to everyone, right? And it often occurs when we're the most dependable and the most reliable, and we don't know how to say no. And so taking the cape off, in theory, is being able to remove that old cape and create a new one that has better boundaries and to deal with things that are for you to carry, not the things that you're not carrying alone.
I mean, this is so timely, when I think about the message constantly being immersed in the business world and working with small business owners in that conversation. Because, that term, the buck stops, with you is so often so true and overlooked, the emotional capacity that goes along with this. Now, you spent 25 years operating at a high level, right? Automotive industry, operating as a dealer principal, at one of the most successful dealerships in the state of Maryland at the time, executive leader, president of a national organization. From the outside, that looks like success by any standard, right? In our Instagram era and our look at this guy out there doing it. The question, though, I guess, is when did you realize that maybe the very thing that helped you succeed was also costing you?
Because, to your point, you feel so on the outside, you look perfect, right? And that's that perfect persona that we as leaders, whatever industry that you're in or whatever facet that you do in life, we try to be perfect in everything we do. And in the inside, you're just exhausting. And it didn't happen to me. It was a slow burn, I would say. I lost my dad. I didn't mourn. I went right to work. And, the store started to have some challenges. And I could not take it to the point where I could always see the end of the tunnel, and I couldn't see the end of the tunnel anymore. And because of that, I had a pretty extreme mental breakdown in 2024 and all the way through last year, and even on now recovering. But it's you never know what you're carrying until it gets too heavy, and that's the plight of this. With an auto, as you know, we can't miss deadlines. We can't miss hitting our number every month. We can't miss hitting our OEM goal. We can't miss being profitable or making money. We can't miss, and those decisions that we have to make, Cory, either as a dealer principal is either you have to pay off those cars or you got payroll coming. And those types of decisions, a lot of weight, it's a lot of anxiety, and it's a lot of stress that there's a finite number of people who actually understand it, because when you're a small business owner, to your point, everything starts and stops with you.
I didn't have a time in lead up here. I didn't have time to get through the whole book, so I've just started getting elements of it. But I will tell you, it's as someone who has a very vast library, but also believes, one of my 5 pillars, the first one is mindset. Very much of this very early on is speaking and resonating to me so much, and I know it will with other small business owners because we live in that reality. Just like the auto industry, right? So it's tough to talk auto stuff with people who weren't in auto or aren't in auto because they just don't get it the same way. And I think this leads into this idea of, right, when we say high achievers, a lot of high achievers wear the pressure well, right, at least in public. What are some of the warning signs that tell someone maybe they've been wearing the cape maybe a little too long?
Yeah, but you know what? For me, tempered started to be a little bit more tighter, and I just could not take always having to have the answer to everything. That was like one of the biggest things. You know, you would people would come to you, whether it was about business or externally, and I just like, I don't know, figure it out. And it was that short spurt of temperament was part of it, and then it's also the point of just being tired, right? And one of the things I noticed and I mentioned quite a bit is the access and the over access we allow people to have to us by way of our phones. And having the phone at the dinner table and you have it right there on top of the table and maybe turned upside down, but we can't wait for that next text or we can't wait for that next email instead of just taking time to enjoy ourselves, enjoy that meal, enjoy the people who you're eating with, that we always have to have this instant, constant contact and accessibility because we don't want to miss anything or we feel like can't miss anything. And so, you know, I had to notice the hard way, you know, going on vacations or that you worried about the numbers or because those are the things that were more priority because I was there and present, but mentally I'm checked out. I'm thinking about my store. I'm thinking about other things that I have to do when I get back. And I think those are some of the tidbits, man, that I really figured out that there was something that's not right. That I couldn't put it down.
It pulls on you and you start to, right, you have to address it. I find it interesting in life that sometimes the universe will make the decision for you. And whatever, like call it God, universe, whatever you study. But sometimes if there's something going on or something has to happen, the universe will break the levee and we'll create that, you know. And for you, I think one of the things you talk about, right, is being the dependable one. And a lot of people build their identity around that. I have a good friend and I say, you know, you love to fix people. You love to like, he thrives on that. And people build their identity around that. Now, you know, the person who always says yes, though, who always solves the problem, who always shows up, what does learning to say no actually look like when, you know, reliability has become part of who you are?
Look, it is difficult to do because the reality of saying no is that fear of being ridiculed, is that fear of oh, now you're acting new. It's that external peer pressure because you said no for you and not yes to them.
Yes.
You are having this fight, right? It's this push-pull thing going on where it's really not about you. I'm saying no for me. And that's the hardest thing, man, because you know, we feel stress and we feel the weight, we feel overwhelmed, but you know, we're not broken and sometimes, you know, we think we have all of the answers, but you can't lose hope for it. And I think that the no is such a powerful word, but it's also a vulnerable word to be able to say to someone or something.
You know, I think one thing that stands out in your message is that, you know, you don't see burnout as something that just shows up, right, overnight in adulthood. And this is very interesting because you talk about pressure accumulating over time. So help me connect the dots to this here. How does like what a teenager carries emotionally eventually show up in life, you know, when you're 20 or 30, particularly in an executive role or in a role where you are a leader?
There's pockets, right? So when you're in high school, you have that pocket of stress of getting applications completed for college, getting into college, and now you have to see these kids doing these signing parties, and that's a whole different level of social peer pressure. Once you're in college, you have the fight of stress to get through college, and can I get a job in the major that I want? And once that senior year gets, that's a different level of stress of where am I going to go? How can I afford to go? And am I going to be considered a success? Because that stress alone from high school to college and then college to the bridge into career or your professional career is probably the most intricate part of our development. but those are different capes that we all use. And it's a lot of energy that we spend trying to achieve the graduation, the process of getting internships. Can I get a job when I graduate? All of those things. And once I get out of the graduate high school or college, can I get a job in a career that I see that I can excel in? Then that third part of that is the professional side is I need to make it happen. I need to show folks that I can get things done. I need to show folks that I am dependable. I need to show folks that I'm reliable. And anything that they put before me, whether I know the answer or not, I'm going to figure it out. That's where those capes are all built. And we never understand how to shed those capes to start to build the cape of balance, the cape of being able to, marry your personal life and your professional life are two different things. They can't merge like Voltron. I use that example quite a bit, right? And sometimes us overachievers or folks that like to make things happen, you see a lot of people where their personal life and their professional life are all in one, and it really shouldn't be that way. At least to a certain extent, there needs to have some type of boundaries or separation because your family deserves that time.
Yeah, definitely a lot of schools of thought on that for sure. Before I let you go, let's make this practical for the person watching right now. The person who knows that, maybe they're carrying too much. I'm interested in this question, but let's make it personal. Maybe they know they're carrying too much, or they may not know where to begin. And right, they don't want to go through the beauty of books and courses and learning is that you get to hear from people like what not to do so it doesn't happen to you, right? So you talk about, this year and a half of transition and awakening for you and some challenges. People want to avoid that. So what's the first thing that maybe they need to put down in this kind of process to make it practical?
You know what? I think the first boundary is monitor how you use your phone. Monitor how much access people have to you that you allow to have access to you when using your phone. That's one. And I think the other one is to not have the facade to say everything's okay, right? Well, we typically say I'm okay or I'm good. Those are all kind of code words where I just don't really want to open up to you. So it's okay to say that you're not okay, right? And sometimes you may not want to trust your family or trust a good friend because those words can be used against you as armor or ammo. But it's okay to find someone to talk to independently, to be able to have these conversations without feeling like you're weak or without feeling like you're letting people down. Because sometimes just being able to get it out, particularly in auto, if you don't understand auto, it's hard for people to really grasp, like, well, why would you do that? I can't believe it. So it's good to have that independent person or someone there, the pastor or the therapist or whatever the case may be, that you can really dig in and have some candid conversations. Because I think a lot of folks, we do suffer in silence. And that's where our minds begin to make up scenarios and create future that doesn't even exist. And so that's part of my darkest spell that I would say that I was under, and I couldn't see myself outside of the tunnel, so to speak, and just being able to know and learn how to walk in the fog. And it's okay to walk in the fog because God got you.
We were going to leave it right there. Damon Lester, Taking the Cape Off, available everywhere that you can get your hands on this. I know you've just been doing some book signings. Damon, thank you so much for, I think, not just taking the time to work on yourself, but taking the time to put it in words so other people can be helped. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Well, thank you. And Cory, I would say we've known each other for years, and you too, you have been an advocate and supporter of me personally, but also of the industry. And what you've been able to do and accomplish, it takes a lot of energy, as you know. And hey, it's a thankless job, but you have been there and being the voice for a lot of people, whether you hear it or not, man. I will give you kudos and tip my hat off to you. Thank you.
I appreciate that, man. If today's conversation resonated with you and you've been carrying more than your fair share, Be sure to connect with Damon Lester and learn about his book, Taking the Cape Off, at takecapeoff.com. You can also reach Damon directly at damon.lester@takecapeoff.com. This has been another episode of Meet the Experts, the show that introduces you to the thought leaders that can impact your business, your brand, and your bank account. I'm Cory Mosley, and I will see you next time.
Thanks for watching Meet the Experts, an exclusive interview series produced by Thought Leadership Studios.